Welcome to Dodgers Dawgs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Coach Holt, as I am each and every Wednesday and Friday. Coach, first of all, it's great to see your face. Second of all, it's great to see that Dodgers offense explode again.
No, same here, Case. Always great to see you and be with you and our Dodger Dogs on a couple of times a week. I look forward to it. Yeah, it's great to see the Dodgers. The offense has shown signs. It's great to see what Pa has is starting to come around. I mean, good Lord, he's not just coming around. He's being a pretty impressive hitter right now. You know he'll cool off a little bit, but that's a great sign for the Dodgers. The biggest sign, as I look down through the stats, like I'm sure you already did as we watched the game, 18 hits, only 2 home runs. We weren't relying on the big bomb. We got the first pitch of the bottom of the first, Shohei, the homer, and then I forget who it was. We got a homer later in the game, but it's 18 hits. And up and down the lineup, your big three are doing their thing up top. I think there's 5 ribbies between, Freddie and Mookie and those guys and Shohei. And Pa has doing his thing. It's great to see some of the other guys starting to come around. And, the concern still is me as a Dodger fan, as an old coacher, as a Muncy and Conforto right now. They were both 0 for last night. And you hope that some of that stuff changes right there. They're going to end up at some point. They have to be probably important parts of the offense down in the bottom part of the order. So we hope that comes around. But just like you said, it's great to see the offense and is executing offense the way they are. And it's great to see your boy come in pitching right there. Right out of Oklahoma City and gets a win. And that was great to see for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Matt Sauer. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. That was great. He came in 5 innings. Right off the plane, baby. Give us 5. In a Major League Baseball game, and very impressive outing for Sauer. And I know you've been tooting his horn, and I know you're impressed. You know him from Oklahoma City days, and that's great to see the Dodgers get that out of him also.
Yeah, and Jack Dreyer, I was proud of Jack. Yeah, after
innings.
Giving up the run in the first inning, he gave up. That first hit was a really just unfortunate. I mean, it was like 75 miles an hour or something like that.
Right.
And then he just did kind of groove a fastball, so that was on him. But it's kind of some tough luck there early on in the first inning, and he gave up a run and, kind of was having to turn to his curveball and pitch backwards a little bit, and then did a good job in the second inning. So the multiple inning thing for Jack and then getting past the first inning and the tough luck, I thought that was good for him.
Yeah, that's great. I just looked down through 20 strikes out of 28 pitches. So, as you said, giving up a tough hit there to run for the Dodgers to be down when he got back out there. But multiple innings there, you got 28 pitches and throwing strikes, and for Sauer to come out and do it, that's what you need the Dodgers to be able to do right there. I mean, that's a sign of a championship, which is a championship ball club. Has been for a few years here and still is. You get a cat off the plane out of LAX and say, hey, by the way, here's a ball. Got that fresh uniform on. Let's go. And to get that, but we've seen that in the last couple of years. These guys have come up from the minor leagues and have done great things. Rex and I were talking last night during the game, and planning our trip to Boston to watch the Dodgers. I think we're going to try to pull that one off. Never been to Fenway, but anyway. And we were talking about that. He's talking about, we always start of every year, always feel like, the last few years, feel like got all this pitching. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, everybody's getting hurt. So then it's great to see these young guys come in and do their thing. Like I said, I still go back. They saved our bacon 2 years ago. It did end up in a World Series championship, but what a great job, a couple of years ago by the young kids. And even last year when the Dodgers won the series.
Yeah. It's always different when Shohei Ohtani gets things started. It's a different electricity especially when it's like the second pitch of the game and he just hits one about 180 miles an hour. It just feels like it gets the crowd going. It feels like it gets the team going. There's just a different type of electricity when he gets things going.
I haven't got to see him live yet as far as a spectator. I can only imagine that, as we always say, even with metal bats case, I've seen it, a high school level on up. It just sounds different. I'm sure it just sounds different when Shohei squares it up. It's like Ethan Holiday down at Stillwater High School, his dad back in the day, and his brother, So guys, when they square them up, it just sounds different. That's and scouts will tell you the same thing. College scouts, pro scouts tell you the same thing, and that's something. It's hard to explain. It's just when that guy squares one up, he gets squared up, and it's great. It kind of sets the table and gets everybody going right there. And I don't know the young man, but just look at him. He seems like such an awesome young man. He comes in, he always tips his cap. Of course, he tipped his cap to Clayton McCullough the other day, the first game. I know they've got a great history going back, and I'm happy for Clayton. I hope it'll get better for him, but we know he's a great baseball guy and a former Dodger, so hope things get better for him. Not until he leaves LA, of course, but I hope they get better for him.
I can tell you this: I've talked to several, just on the defensive side, especially like a James Outman and other guys that are really good on defense. And they go on and on and on about the extra work that Clayton McCullough did for them. So I was not surprised to see Clayton get a manager job, and he will be a rock star. It's tough whenever you're – and I've got to call a spade, and when the Dodgers have spent so much more money than you have. And you're putting your team in a position for the most part to win. But, hey, Coach, you mentioned that, there's always going to be at least one or two guys in your lineup that aren't clicking at one particular time. Really, throughout the regular season, you don't want all 9 guys clicking all at the same time, because then the odds would say that all 9 are going to probably start not clicking at the same time as well. So what you want is like 4 or 5 going really well, maybe 2 or 3 going okay, and then 2 or 3, and then they just kind of flip who they are as the season goes on. So I think we're definitely seeing that with this lineup.
No, it's a great thing. Like you said, when you've got that, gives you a luxury of letting Max and Conforto, who are proven major league hitters. They're not batting champions, but they're both proven major league hitters, very quality major league hitters for what the Dodgers need from them. So the Dodgers have that luxury when you have these other guys starting to come around. And Pages is doing the things he's doing, and Teoscar's been good the entire year, and so is Will. There's some guys that have been pretty consistent all year, and Mookie, Freddie, and Shohei are just elite. They're even on their bad days are great. So it's one of those things. So you're absolutely correct, though. It gives you the luxury of letting those guys feel that the pressure is not on them. They're not hitting 3 and 4 hole for you and not getting it done. And feeling the heat of losses stacking up like that. They're in the part of the lineup where they can get their legs on them. You hope you say, well, what are you talking about? Those guys are been in major leagues for a long time. It doesn't matter. Every year, every day, every pitch is a new day in baseball or any level, especially the major league level. So those guys are working through things, and I'm not there every day. I'm sure they're out there every day getting the extra work in, because those guys know what it takes to be successful. And I feel confident that they'll come around to be what we did. We said it last year about Teoscar. We just need him to be Teoscar. Yes. He don't need to be a 300 hitter. He was Teoscar. This year he may be even a better Teoscar.
Yes.
I think for a lot of reasons, he's with a great organization. Culture matters. Case, we know that on every level. And in the Dodger clubhouse, I'm not in there. I can only imagine what it's like. From Roberts on down, the coaching staff, and your elite top 3 right there, your big 3, let's call them, and the other guys, the all-stars like Will Smith and guys who've been all-stars. So, the culture matters. But so those guys get a Conforto. I'd be shocked if he don't come around at least to something similar to what he's been in the past. If he doesn't, it's just one of those things. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened in the big leagues.
Yeah, sure.
If he comes around to be what we need him to be, just be him. That wouldn't be the first time we see that either. But I know I'm glad he's on our team. I talked to Marty Lees the other day. He had, because I thought he got to go to Oregon State. Marty said he recruited him and coached him. I said, well, you did a hell of a job of coaching him. He goes, no, he's pretty good when I got him. Yeah, we had to do it. And but he was a good Oregon State kid. Those great teams up there. So he's got the background. And I said Max is a Dodger. I know we get frustrated about a lot of things. His defense is better. That's good. If he was stinking it up defensively and hitting 180, we'd really be pissed off. So he's brought some things to the table. We just need him to be Max Muncy, and we need Michael to be Michael Conforto. That's all we need. Just be you.
And as long as you have the best record in baseball or close to it, you have plenty of time. There's no reason not to let situations like that play out as long as you possibly can, just to see. And I'll tell you, there's results. Of course, the game was fantastic. The Dodgers now blown out 2 out of the last 3, which is very important. This offense needs to blow out games until the starting rotation kind of settles itself, because the bullpen's been getting used so much. When you blow out games, you get to do what you did yesterday. Jack Dreyer, Matt Sauer, Kike Hernandez. Nobody was taxed. So those blowout games are way more than just scores on a scoreboard. They are process-oriented for how you went on down the road. So there's the process to that. Process to Mookie, he got some hits. The results, he got some hits, but I'll tell you, the first 2 at-bats, he got jammed on fastballs in. He wasn't getting the barrel out on them. That third hit, the first hit, the third at-bat, he finally got to that inside pitch, and you could almost see him go, thank God I freaking got to that pitch, and it just kind of relaxed him a little bit.
Yeah, it was great to see him be able to do that, and who knows? He might have gone down when he came in. Might have gone down, got a couple swings in the cage, working on. I don't know. They have that luxury of looking at video in the dugout, and I'm sure there's somewhere close. There's a little tee somewhere they can get in and get some stuff, get a few hacks in right there. And these guys are elite players. They know what it takes, and it's great to see him be able to do that. It was just a great opportunity for a lot of people. You can see both sides of it. You know what I mean? Hey, you're playing terrible teams. Everybody's got to play these guys. These are major league teams. Everybody plays the same people.
Alcantara is not terrible, though.
No,
Alcantara is
exactly.
really good.
This guy is an all-star pitcher. The guy we're banging around last night hitting right out of the minor leagues. He is one that has been. Whatever you think about him last night, could be he's faced a heck of a lineup. The guy, he's not a. He's an elite major league pitcher, has been for a few years here. So, that was a great sign. But, they just need to get it going, and you're going to have to play. You're going to play everybody. We're not going to sit here and play the Padres, the Giants, and the Mets, and all the best teams in the league. The Cubs, are leading the division right now. We played them quite a bit. So, you get all you want of some of that stuff, but that's the process, as you mentioned. The process has to take place, and we're always quick to jump on there. Well, they're playing terrible teams. You ought to be successful. That's no guarantee of anything. This is Major League Baseball, so it's a daily process. And like you said, Case, that's a good word to use, the process. These guys get it. They've got a long season. They get up, they get to the ballpark. They've got things they do. Their assistant coaches are out there getting the extra work in with them, BP, whatever the case may be. The video, all the information these guys get thrown back at them nowadays are amazing. It's not just coming back to the dugout and you and Chris and Brad over there talking to each other. Hey, he throws this video. That these guys, they got video, they got everything they
iPads,
need. They got their books. They'll pull the books out when a new pitcher comes in. They've got everything they need to be successful. But the best part about me being an old coach, and you being an old coach, and not as old as me, but an old coach, is the process to be successful. Still the same thing. You give me all the damn information you want, but if I can't get it done, physically, I'm not going to be successful. So that's a great that's the great thing about baseball. That's the part that never changes with baseball is how you're successful. You put the work in, you learn from mistakes, and you learn from your failures, which this is a game of failures, as we all know.
And it's always interesting to see the differences between. One thing the Dodgers do great is they have all this information, but they don't force it down their players' throats because every player is different in terms of how they can process. Some players, literally they can't take any. Hey, I just want to see the ball. I want to look fastball, adjust to the curveball. That's all I can do, right? I can't think of anything else. Other guys want to be super analytical, like a Jack Dreyer, somebody like that. So that's always interesting. And then to get to the analytics, kind of segues me to my next point. You mentioned Alcantara, a very good pitcher. And the Dodgers are a terrible matchup for him because his balls that aren't in the strike zone are not pitches that the Dodgers are going to swing at. The Dodgers already are like one of the best teams in a long time, and not just this year, every year, year in, year out, at not chasing the strike zone, swinging at strikes. So when you have a guy like Alcantara whose balls are not close enough to even get the Dodgers hitter to even think about swinging, the Dodgers are going to be swinging at strikes all day. And as good as Alcantara is, that 94, 95-mile-an-hour sinker, the Dodgers are going to hit that. So I thought the Dodgers did a great job of doing what they do, not swinging at pitches out of the zone, and then just really getting aggressive at the sinkers that were in the zone.
Isn't that amazing, the matchups we talk about, even down, on the high school level, on up, colleges especially have a lot of information now that they can throw at kids. But it's all about matchups. We're sitting in the stands as a fan with a hot dog and a beer, going, "What the hell are you throwing that guy for?" There's probably a reason why they're doing it. Why they bring a certain guy up to pinch hit. That guy's hitting 120, but he may be hitting 330 off the guy on the mound. There's all the information there that the matchups are so big, and Coach Barakoff can speak to this more, but I learned that more in basketball also. As a young coach, I wasn't young, but I was young as far as a basketball coach, getting my brains beat in. I started figuring out the matchup. So it is big in basketball too. The substitution pattern of you and your opponent and where the matchups are, that became a big thing there. But it's always been big in baseball too. Why are they starting that guy for? We even see, the Oklahoma State case. We watch Oklahoma State baseball and you're like, starting that guy,
Yeah, right.
The information that Josh Holiday and his staff had, the same thing we're talking about. They have a plan. They have a rhyme and reason, which even though us fans with the beer and the hot dog may not understand it all the time. I
would totally agree with that. So the Dodgers last night, you had to be super happy for Matt Sauer. And then also Andy Pages. I mean, he not just offense coach. He throws out Edwards trying to stretch that ball into a double, although I thought Edwards was safe. But, hey, they replayed it, and they couldn't figure anything out. They got to figure out replay, though.
Yeah,
I mean, there's got to be a timer on it. There's a pitch clock. They have officially put baseball on a clock, which it was never meant to be a game that had a clock. But I personally like the pitch clock. It just once you watch it and once you watch the pace of play pick up, it's something you can't go back from. So they've got to figure out that replay deal. I mean, to spend however long that was trying to figure out whether Edwards was safe or out and then be inconclusive. Kind of my point is, if you go to replay and you're a minute into it, you've had every single modern day angle that you can possibly get, and you still can't figure it out after, say, 60 seconds, then that in itself is inconclusive.
Yeah.
So they've got to put a timer on the amount of time it takes to replay a play, my opinion.
I agree with you. And the pitch clock, even on the college level, hadn't become the pitchers and the hitters are getting used to it. They're adjusting to it.
Yes.
Just like the history of athletics. The players are adjusting to it. Same thing there. You see it sometimes in football and especially in basketball now they're starting to do the replays. I agree with you, Case. If you're looking at every angle you got quickly, you're checking every angle that you got and it's inconclusive, you go back to the out call is still the out call. Let's move on. It's same way in football. I'm like you. I mean, even in football, put a dadgum, a device in a football that shows if it crosses the line. Have a laser with a goal line here. Yeah. If they can ball cross the line, you'll know it. It'll ding. It went across the line. It's a touchdown. That seems simple to me, and I know. But all the process of the replay, I think it's great in some concepts, and some things they don't replay. You're like, well, what the hell? That's a big play. They don't even have a rule to replay that. So I know they try to tweak it every year. All the major sports, I know they do work with it every year. But it's like if you got every shot and it's inconclusive, it goes back to the original call. Let's move on. I mean that's. Don't keep on. You almost like what I'm saying. You almost keep watching. These guys are humans that are watching these. Mm-hmm. It's not computer made. These guys are humans that are watching these. At some point, they start second guessing themselves, and they get it wrong. There's been cases we've all seen in all major sports that you watch it, they get the damn thing wrong because we can see it right here ourselves. Go, what are y'all looking at? I mean, it's almost like the longer they go, they talk themselves into something that isn't there. So I totally agree. It's grown on me. I like the replay system, but just keep tweaking it. They'll get there.
11 for 19 with runners in scoring position. So one of the great things about last night was even with like the four singles after the Andy Pages home run, one thing I really liked is we mentioned, hey, just winning sometimes, you want to stay away from any kind of your leverage arms in the bullpen. So the adding on, just the Dodgers continued to add on last night. Matter of fact, if you look at their box score, they scored in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. They scored in 6 different innings last night, and out of the 8 that they hit in. I love that offense where you're scoring in every inning, especially when you put up 1, 2, 3, 4 crooked numbers. That's obviously very fun. But scoring in every inning, adding on to where the innings become less leverage towards the end, and then the hitting with runners in scoring position. Again, 11 for 19. So it's one of those deals you start feeling good about yourself, and the big hits just kept coming.
It's a great idea. We're always quick to talk about the domino effect with the bullpen.
Yes.
God dang it, what do we do today is going to affect not only tomorrow, but next week, the rest of this week, because that's the negative part of it. But you already mentioned that's the positive. quote unquote domino effect, if you will, of last night. The Dodgers brought a guy out of the bullpen, out of the minor leagues who went 5, and so you were able to, as you mentioned, save those leverage arms. So that's going to pay dividends off later this week on into next week. And same, but getting those hits with runners in scoring position, it's the same old thing. I've said it a million times. You probably heard me say it. You probably said it to your player's case. Anybody can hit with no pressure on you.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, if there's nobody on base and you got a 10-0 lead, hell, everybody's a good old boy. Get up there and swing at it. It's in those tight situations. Of course, this ended up not being a tight game, but it's those tight situations. 1-2 facing an elite pitcher. Can you get a freaking hit there? Can you get a 2-strike, 2-out hit to drive in a run? That sort of thing. So, that's a big stat when you're getting hits with runners in scoring position. You see it all the time. Every broadcast you watch on the college level on up, they show, what you did with runners in scoring position. It's a big, we sat down, me and my daughter watched Moneyball again the other day.
Yeah.
Just had to sit down and watch it. Hadn't watched it in a while. Goes back to, that's kind of where the analytics started. Seriously, analytics started with Billy Bean and staff out there at Oakland, and just watching the stuff, all the information they had right there. So, it's all something that, the information, whatever you want to call it, information highway or whatever they call it, is exploding in every sport. So it's great to have that stuff. But good Lord, 11 for 19 or 11 for 18, whatever you said there in scoring position is a great stat. Great. And it means a lot of different people are performing. It's not the same, obviously there's a lot of different people getting hits there.
Yeah. Day off today, then you're at the Braves, and then you're at the Marlins, and then you're at the D-backs. That starts your 10 games in a row. So this almost kind of felt like a getaway day type of game to where you could relax a little bit, especially you're definitely your pitching. You had a lot of fun. You had Kike pitching. Then you have the off day, travel day today. Then you go to the Braves, who are 14 and 15. Then the Marlins. We said, whenever they were coming home after losing whoever the team. Yeah. There you go. We said this, hey, a week or so now, 10 days from now, things will look probably a lot different after you come back home. Ohtani gets to be with his family. You get to be in front of the wonderful Dodgers fans, and you get to play the Marlins and the Pirates. And even if things aren't perfect, you're probably going to win most of those games. Then you go to the Braves, who have a losing record. Then you're at the Marlins. So there's your next 6 games before you get into the Diamondbacks, who have not been perfect at all this year. Then you have the A's and the Angels, and then the Diamondbacks again. So this is really a period of May. I know, hey, it's 162. We try not to make too big of a deal out of any one little small sample size of window. But this is a big stretch for the Dodgers because they could really start pulling away from some people. I know they have a 1-game lead over the Giants now, but you could end up this stretch at the Braves, at the Marlins, at D-backs, the A's at home, Angels at home, and then D-backs at home. You could end that on, say, May 21st, May 22nd on your off day. You could have a 5 or 6 game lead by that point. I think this stretch is a big one.
No, there's no doubt about it. What you just mentioned, the teams the Dodgers have coming up. I go back to the end of last year. We talked about the schedule was insanely tough. Then the year the Dodgers were in a pennant race, so and they were able to get through that. And I think that led into being the world champions. That toughness right there. But it's like you said, this is an opportunity to get in somewhat of a run as much as you can in the major leagues. When you're talking about arguably the best team in baseball, you got a chance to make some headway. I haven't looked at the Padres or the Giants schedule. I know their record's good. Maybe they've been playing these guys. I don't know who the heck they've been playing. I know the Padres have, played the Cubs some and that sort of thing. I don't know if
they're playing each other right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're we're watching. We're just care about the Dodgers. All I know is what our record is and how big our lead is and all that stuff. The other teams, I know they're good. And we'll leave it at that. I ain't got time to talk about. I'm not going to mention anybody's name on here.
Sure.
I'm not mentioning a couple, the C word or the PCA word from Chicago.
No,
you already
moratoriums,
banned
Coach.
me from that one. I hadn't had a chance to even talk about that kid. But anyway.
No, we're not talking about P. Crow Armstrong. He's not allowed. That name is not allowed on this show. I just said it, didn't I?
You did. What the hell? You told me I couldn't say that name or Cronenworth. So
it's called a moratorium, Coach. No Jake Cronenworth.
No Jake Cronenworth, no PCA. So I'll try to remember to shut the hell up on that. I talk about Michael Tucker, though. He's a hell of a player.
He is,
anyway,
man.
I like the Cub team. I just don't like them when they beat us. But, this is an opportunity for the Dodgers to do a lot of things here. And, a 5-game lead would be huge. I mean, for this, because this division isn't going away. It's really not. The Giants have improved themselves. The Padres are a hell of a team. I hated admitting it, because it is what it is. And again, I'll go back. There's probably only a couple of players on there that pissed me off, but but they got a hell of a team. They did last year. They do this year. But if it's the old story, if it's worth doing, it's going to be hard to do. Whatever. Nothing's going to come easy. It didn't last year. It's not going to this year, even for the best teams. The Mets had it with a 20-9. I heard yesterday. So they're not going away either. But who cares? We're not going away either. We being the Dodgers. The Dodgers aren't going anywhere either. Dave Roberts and those guys aren't going to lose their minds, and Shohei and all of our players aren't going to become dead fish in the water. Nobody. We're not going away either, and that's the thing about it. If you get a chance to make a run, a 5-game lead and towards the latter part of May would be a great thing. We're kind of wishful thinking here, but the Dodgers are entirely. That's certainly possible for them to do that.
It is, and just that's kind of buys you more time to kick the can down the road to figure out what your starting pitching is going to be. And I think it's big to kind of give yourself a little bit of cushion, because after that last game with the D-backs, the run we just talked about, then you're at the Mets, you're at Cleveland, then you play the Yankees and the Mets at home. So the schedule gets a lot tougher. So this next couple of weeks, I think, is a week the Dodgers need to focus in on. No process talk, all results, try to figure out how to get a 4 or 5 game lead going into that series with the Mets that we just talked about at the 23rd of May. So we're kind of getting out of the weeds further down the stretch, but that's kind of what you do whenever you look at the 162. You break it into smaller chunks, and you go, hey, here's a 10-game stretch. Let's go 7-3 in this stretch, because this next 10-game stretch, we might go 5-5. That's kind of how you piece it out.
Yeah, and another part that we hadn't mentioned yet, which is obvious, hopefully you get some injured players back, or at least as you're looking out, you're also in the process going, okay, I wonder. I haven't looked at the list lately on who's. I know Kershaw's working on he's getting some starts in and some things
supposedly
like that.
throwing tonight in Oklahoma City.
He's going to throw in the city. Hope they get that mound dry down there and pull a damn hamstring down there. It's raining cats and dogs here in Oklahoma still, but they got a great grounds crew down there too, and you used to be a member of, or maybe you still are. I know you used to, but anyway. Yeah. It's great, but you some of the injured players, we're talking about a month down the road. Then who do we, or if they're not back, are they close to being back? Before we get to the dog days, quote unquote, in July and August, where the Dodgers are going to stand there, and you never know. The sad part about it is other injuries are going to prop up there too, because they just do. It's the nature of playing baseball every day at elite level with highly conditioned, highly trained athletes. They're going to pull a hamstring. They're going to get an injury or pop an ankle or a rib out of place, like Freddie, still being elite with all those injuries he battled through last year. So these guys will, as you get into those days, then everybody's beat up. It's kind of one of those things. There's nobody walking around feeling real good every day. Yeah.
Well, it's the key word there is every day, no doubt about that. Yeah. So, hey, Coach, this has been a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last night. Yep. And the Dodgers, again, have a 1-game lead in the NL West. That's a lot of fun. A stretch coming up where they hopefully can stretch that out before a really tough stretch at the end of May, beginning of June. So final thoughts.
It's like you said, Case, it's a great way to go. It's always great. It's 162, but it's always great to have that good feeling, 15-2 win as you go into your day off. You got a young cat coming up from Oklahoma City that they gave you a 5. You got Pajes getting, it's just great to watch him. We forget the guy played in the World Series last year. This isn't just him walking out. This is his first time. Yes, he's a young player, just getting, but he also went through the rigors of the World Series last year, playing elite baseball. It's great to watch now that we see him kind of coming around, and some of the other players. But the process of him, game slowing down, for use of a better term, the game's slowing down for him. He's seeing things. He's hitting the ball the other way. Like I said, he's got a great arm in the outfield, so we know that's going to be a big help. But to go into an off day with a 15-2 win, with a lot of people being involved in it and traveling to Atlanta, it's just the Dodgers are in a good spot right now. We've all had to, ran the red flags up already, and at certain times here, though it's early in the season, and you look up and they're leading the division, a very good division. So, it's going to be that way all year. It's just going to be a battle. they're I don't think they're going to win it by 14 games this year. It'd be great if they did, but it's going to be just like it was last year. Battle right down to the end, and I wouldn't have it any other way, and I wouldn't want to be with any other team than the Dodgers.
No doubt.
And with you and Coach Barakoff and Austin and all of our Dodger dogs.
Coach Barakoff called it. He said getting back home, everybody was going to just kind of get in a groove and everything would start clicking. And
Yep.
Coach Barakoff was 1,000% correct on that. But, hey, before we get out of here, we're not going to have a Down the Farm today because Oklahoma City and Tulsa were washed. The Great Lakes game, Josue de Paula was 1 for 4 last night, but really the only highlight there was the fact that he hit a home run, and it was a monstrous 3-run home run. Kellen Lindsey, the Dodgers' #1 pick from last summer, had 2 hits last night for Rancho, and then Mike Sirota hit a home run last night as well. And then Ryan Brown with his Vulcan change threw 2 really good innings. Ryan Brown, the young man out of Ball State, who just came off of Tommy John, has an 0.93 ERA there for Rancho. So that's pretty much the extent. Yes, that's the Vulcan change right there.
Yes, right there it is, baby.
Yep, that's it. It's crazy.
Live long and prosper, young man. Keep throwing it.
Yeah, and he said that he just lets it go, and sometimes it cuts left, sometimes it turns right, sometimes it just goes straight. He never knows exactly what it's going to do. So it has a mind of its own.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the highlights from Down on the Farm. So, Coach, it's always great to see your face. It's always fun to get a chance to talk to you every morning. I love you.
Love you too, and get a raincoat on those Dodger dogs outside, man. You guys are gonna get wet out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Go for a walk.
So for Coach Holt, I'm Casey Porter. I want to thank you for tuning in. You Dodgers dogs are the best, and as always, it's a great day to be a Dodger.